My mother's cry. The night it all started, the moon hung low over Eba Ife village, dim and quiet, like it was morning before the rest of us knew something was wrong. I was 13, small for my age, with more worries in my head than a child should have. But nothing prepared me for the sounds that sliced the silence that night. My mother's cry. Her name was Mary Daniels, the woman who carried strength on her shoulders like a rapa. People said she had a calm face, the kind that softened even the hardest anger. But that night, the sound that broke from her was not calm. It was pain, raw and deep. I rushed out of our mud house barefoot, my heart hammering. She was kneeling in the yard, the kerosene lamp flickering beside her. She held a letter in her hands, the edges shaking like her fingers had forgotten how to stay still. "Mama, what's wrong?" I whispered. She didn't answer. She simply pressed the letter to her chest and cried harder. The kind of cry that came from the stomach, not the eyes. The kind of cry that made you feel like the world was collapsing quietly around you. A few minutes later, my Uncle Samuel walked in through the compound gate. He smelled faintly of alcohol, the scent we had all gotten used to lately. He snatched the letter from her. "Mary, read it now. Tell your son the truth. Let him know the kind of burden you brought into this family." Mama covered her face, too ashamed to look at me. Uncle Samuel opened the letter and read the words that would change everything. "Dear Mrs. Daniels, your husband, Mr. Joseph Daniels, has passed away." My knees buckled. My father, dead. He had been working in the city for 2 years, sending money when he could, promising to return soon. Every night, Mama prayed for him. Every morning, she waited for a letter. Now, he would never come home. But that wasn't the part that destroyed Mama. The letter continued. He left behind unpaid debts. The company demands that all borrowed funds be returned within 90 days. Uncle Samuel spat on the ground. "Mary, so this is the husband you were busting about? A man who abandoned responsibilities and left debt for us? Now look, creditors are coming and everyone is pointing fingers at us." Mama cried harder. She wasn't crying because of the debt. She wasn't even crying because of shame. She was crying for my father, the man she loved despite his mistakes. But the village did not care about love. Before we continue, please like, comment, share, and follow. The next morning, the news spread across Ibo Ife like wildfire. Whispering voices filled the air whenever we passed. "That woman, Mary, they say her husband died a debtor. She should better prepare. The debt will swallow her. And the boy, what will become of him?" Mama held her head high, but her eyes told the truth. She was breaking inside. 3 days later, the creditor arrived. A tall, stern-faced man named Mr. Thomas, with 2 policemen beside him. He spoke with no kindness. "Madam, your husband borrowed 1,200,000 naira. Since he is gone, responsibility falls on you." Mama fell to her knees. "Sir, I don't have such money. I sell roasted plantain. I can't even save enough to fix our leaking roof." "That is not my concern," he said coldly. "I give you 3 months. After that, your property will be seized." Those words shattered her. That evening, I watched my mother sit outside, staring into nothingness. She didn't touch her food. She didn't speak. She only cried silently, hugging her chest like her heart was ripping apart. Please click on the follow button before we continue. As days passed, our life became a nightmare. Neighbors who once borrowed pepper from Mama now acted like she was cursed. Some refused to buy from her roadside stand, claiming her husband's debt would bring misfortune. Children mocked me at the stream. Debtor son, your father ran away from shame and died. Each insult was a wound. People avoided Mama like she carried a disease. Only Auntie Rebecca, our neighbor, showed a little kindness, bringing food sometimes and comforting words. But even her visits started to reduce. People warned her, if you stay near Mary too much, her husband's curse will fall on you. One evening, Uncle Samuel returned with anger burning in his eyes. Mary, creditors came to my farm today. They said your husband borrowed money in my name too. You brought shame to this family. Mama begged him, tears flowing. I didn't know. Joseph never told me. But he slapped her across the face. My scream echoed through the yard. Mama! She fell to the ground, her cheeks swelling, her pride shattered. That night, when thunder rolled across the sky, she finally broke. I found her alone in the kitchen, crying in the darkness. Why is life like this? She whispered. Why must I suffer for a man I loved? Why must my son carry a burden he didn't create? I hugged her tightly. Mama, I'm here. Don't cry. But she cried even harder. The weight was too much. Before we continue, please like, comment, share, and follow. A week later, something unexpected happened. A strange man arrived in the village. Clean suit, shiny shoes, city accent. He asked for Mary Daniels. Mama came out shyly, wiping her hands on her wrapper. Yes, sir? The man handed her a brown envelope. I worked with your husband, he said quietly. Before he died, he told me if anything happened to him, I should give this to you. Mama's hand shook as she opened the envelope. Inside was a letter and a check. 2 million naira. My mother gasped, stumbling back. The man explained, your husband wasn't a bad man, madame. He borrowed money to pay for a business that later collapsed. He worked day and night trying to repay it. He wasn't running from responsibility. He was fighting. This check is his last savings. He wanted you and your son to survive. Mama broke down crying again. But this time, it wasn't from pain. It was from relief, from love, from the truth that finally set her free. Please click on the follow button before we continue. When Mama repaid the debt, the same people who insulted her began to smile at her again. Mary, God has answered your prayers. Your husband was a good man after all. We knew trouble wouldn't finish you. But Mama didn't smile back. Their sudden kindness meant nothing to her now. She had seen their true faces. She had eaten the bitter fruit of their judgment. She used the little money left to rebuild her plantain business. Slowly, life returned to normal, but she was never the same woman again. Don't forget to click on the follow button before we continue. Years later, I am older now, but sometimes when the night is quiet, I still hear my mother's cry echoing in my memory. Not the cry of weakness, but the cry of a woman who carried storms alone, who fell but rose again, who was mocked but survived, who lost everything yet still found the strength to live. My mother's cry was the beginning of our suffering, but also the birth of her unbreakable strength. And that is a story I will carry forever. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and follow me for more stories. Bye for now.